Good day, everyone. It is May 10th, 2024. And in 3 weeks, Lord willing, I will be back in Dominica. A lot of people are asking, why am I coming back? Well, the state has declared one thing, yet they're doing another. Which is why I've entitled this, Dominica, Rule of Law or Color of Law. Let's break those out and talk about it.
Rule of law is a political ideal that all citizens and institutions within a country, state, or community are accountable to the same laws, including lawmakers and leaders. It is sometimes stated simply as, no one is above the law.
I've been hearing a lot about the rule of law as of late, especially with the most recent ruling in the homosexuality. As they get up there for their press conferences and whatnot, I continually hear Raymond Blackmore, the DPP, and others speak about the rule of law as if they understand the definition. But is it the rule of law or is it the color of law in Dominica?
Color of law means the appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right. This implies a misuse of power made possible only because the wrongdoer is clothed with the authority of the state.
I believe we have found our definition for what goes on in Dominica. They have chosen to reject God and his standard, and they've also chosen to reject the Constitution, shredding it and using just the pieces and parts that they wish, when they want, for their desires. Pastor Toby has part 2 of Reform Civics. Let's give it a listen.
Introduction. In all the old statues and paintings, Lady Justice is blind. Often she's blindfolded, sometimes blind in the eyes. This is because justice does not fear the face of man. You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. Leviticus 19:15. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. You shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's, and the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. Deuteronomy 1:16 and 17.
So let's do a little recap for those who might not be up to speed. Feed my sheep, as I wish to inquire about their books because they wanted to bring me on the board, threw me to their buddies in the government. That's right. Deborah Augustine and Lena Augustine didn't want accountability, kind of like the government. So Deborah and her buddy, the Attorney General, and Blackmore, all got together and decided to throw my whole family in jail. Why? Because this is what we do to foreign nationals. We like their money. That is, the Dominica leadership likes their money. So within a matter of weeks of wanting accountability from Feed My Sheep, especially for the large sums that I helped them with, they decided to ditch us all. Myself, my wife, and my 4 kids were in state custody, with my middle daughter, 16-year-old, in Grand Bay for 7 days, along with my wife and my oldest daughter. My other 2 were put in the orphanage. Yeah, that's how that all started out. I was in the Roseau dungeon for 7 days, while my family was over in Grand Bay, interrogated multiple times. They could find nothing more than, yes, I had possession of these. Yes, I took responsibility for them, even though all these items were in Feed My Sheep's possession. Yeah, there's a lot more to this. Of course, not much of it matters right now because it's the color of law, not the rule of law. It really didn't matter. So I take responsibility for them because if I didn't, they were going to hold my wife and my oldest daughter accountable and responsible and extort us even more. I can be a man, and I was, and I took responsibility for it and paid for it. There, my hands were clean of it. After all, the only thing they tried to come after me and could come after me was for possession. Simple possession. Nothing more, nothing criminal. Other than I had no way of obeying their law anyway, so therefore I guess I was wrong. That's something I will be challenging. I spent a day after I paid my fines and was released by the judge. I was a free man. For some reason, customs during those 7 or 14 days. Oh, it was 14 days. Customs had 14 days to bring charges against me. But they're so incompetent they couldn't do that. Or they realized, oh, wow, this guy's not guilty. And they didn't want to do it. Finally, when they got heat from, I can only guess, Blackmore, they decided to arrest me when I was at the airport heading to the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. Yeah, I was a free man. The High Court was soon to rule on that as well. They had already ruled on what was going on wrong with my family. We'll talk about that another time. I was arrested and put back in jail for 7 more days. And then I was denied bail by the magistrate court because, of course, the magistrate court is bought and paid for. It's called the color of law. Went to the High Court. The High Court's wondering why the state is okay with a possible murderer getting bail, but not this white foreign national. He had a few words to say to the prosecution, and then all of a sudden the prosecution changed their tune. Yes, Your Honor, my lord. He can have bail now. You're right, I can. So after spending a month in Stock Farm, nice little place, I was out. Within a month, I had a court date. 6 months later, I had more court dates. And almost every time, the DPP or her representative from the Attorney General's decided not to show up, not to provide evidence to my lawyer at all, never have. Still to this date, I have nothing to go on as to why I would be proven guilty in the court of law. Therefore, as is required by the rule of law, you are innocent until proven guilty. Not in Dominica. And then 2 days before we were illegally kidnapped and thrown out of the country, remember, I still have a court case, June 4th. I was requesting a variance of bail. I took it to legal support, asking them just to review it because I was going to go ahead and file it myself. Legal support must have let the Attorney General's office know what I was after because I was declaring to the High Court all the shenanigans of the Attorney General's office, guessing they didn't want that to get out. Gonna get out anyway. 2 days later, they show up at 5 o'clock in the morning with their goon squad and decide to kick us out. They were losing. They know they are losing, and they're losing hard. Color of law? Rule of law. Color of law. As we continue to go down this path, June 4th, as I said, is my next court date. So I called the National Security Minister, talked to the Secretary of Raymond Blackmore, and asked point blank, hey, notice you guys haven't actually dropped my court case. I just called the magistrate court, and they said, yeah, you still have to be here because it's a court case. And the court said I still have to be there. So if Sherma can show up the day in the morning, the day I was ejected out of the country along with my wife and children, and declare some nonsense to the court to cover their arse, then I'm guessing she should have been able to figure out, or they should have been able to figure out how to drop my case before now. It's been a couple months. So I have plane tickets. I have my passport. I'll be making a little video on that next week because I want everybody to know what's going on. It's very public. June 4th, I'm going to be in court. June 4th, we are going to ask for it to be dismissed. Supposedly, the DPP is going to do that as well. Well, good. I'll be there to make sure she does it. If she wants to play games, color of law. If she wants to go by the rules, rule of law. We will soon find out. I leave you with this from Pastor Toby Sumpter. as he continues to help us understand biblically what is required.
Here we're also impressed with the necessity of good men to fill these offices. Quote, "Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness." Exodus 18:21. And, quote, "Ye shall not respect person in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's." Deuteronomy 1, verse 17. Written law. Another principle established in Old Testament law is the idea of a written constitution. This is famously symbolized in the Ten Commandments, but a written law code establishes a foundational principle of lex rex. The law is king, although the phrase itself was not popularized until Samuel Rutherford's book, 1644. But the basic concept goes back to the sordid history of the nation of Israel and the rallying cry, "To the law and to the testimony." Isaiah 8, verse 20. See also Jeremiah 44, verse 23. A nation may have monarchs or presidents or supreme courts, and there may be organizational or administrative customs that vary from culture to culture. But justice is an intrinsic and transcendent and unchanging value. Monarchs or presidents or court justices may not make up justice as they go along. Rather, they are to judge according to God's justice. True justice cannot change, and therefore the basic contract or covenant should be written down.